So we're not far into the series yet, but we've already seen quite a lot of the power of Vue. We've seen how we can use templates to create our template, data to create reactive data, and methods to interact with that reactive data and update the DOM automatically. The next thing we're going to see is the concept of a directive, and these look something like this. Vif, for example, velse, or even v4. And these are all directives that Vue comes bundled with. And of course you can make your own custom ones, and we may look at that a little bit later on. Let's go ahead and see how we can use these to make our template more dynamic and exciting. We're going to use the vif directive here. So we're going to create a div with vif. And what's going to happen now is we're going to evaluate some JavaScript. And if it evaluates the true, it's going to render the content of this div. In this case, I'm going to say even. And what we're going to do here is just check if count is even. And if it is, we're going to render even. And we can do that by just saying count and do a modulus operator 2 and see if there's no remainder. And if there is, it's an even number. Let's save it and try it out. I'm going to head back to the browser now, and you can see that 0 is even, so we're rendering even. And 5 is an odd number, so it's going to go away. And that's going to repeat indefinitely. So everything is working as expected. We have a vif, so the next logical thing to do is do a velse and render odd in the opposite case. So I'm just going to do div of velse. And the only thing you need to remember is velse has to be directly adjacent to the vif that it is corresponding to. In this case, we're just going to say odd. And if we save this one off, of course, it is going to work exactly as you would expect. So there is a small improvement we can make here, or at least a personal improvement in my opinion. I personally don't like to have too much logic in my templates. I like to keep them nice and clean and move my logic down to my methods down here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to grab this content here and just copy it down. And we're going to create a new method, and that's going to be called isEven. And this is going to do the logic for us. And we have a few options we can do here. For now, I'm just going to do return on count, and we're going to pass count as the first argument. I'm going to head back up here, and now I'm going to call my isEven method and pass in the count. And if we save this one off and head back to our browser, we can see everything is still working the same. But what we've done is move the logic out of our template, and we've moved it down into our methods, which I find much more readable. There is one small improvement we can make here. There's no real need to pass count as an argument here. What we can do is just remove that, and we have access to count by just saying this.count. So now our template is even more simple and more readable, at least in my opinion. I'm going to save this one off, head back, and just make sure everything is still working. And so it is. So everything is now working. In the next series, or the next tutorial, we're going to see another directive which you're going to be using very frequently, and that is going to be v4.